Hey everyone, I'm Griff.
And you know me, Ember's the name, and 3's not a crowd is my game.
Welcome back to another video by Rocket-ITGames. This video will be a much longer video than all the previous ones because today we will cover how every single card works in the game.
So, sit back or skip ahead to the timestamps below to the card you want to know about.
Without further ado, let's get started with the Triad Cards.
Alright, all number cards are the Triad Cards, and they will each have an element and will have 2 abilities. The top ability will activate by playing 1 card down face up in the play area. And, of course, we have some enhanced abilities. Those abilities require 3 of the same matching elements to activate. You will need to place down all 3 elemental cards to activate it.
That's a basic understanding of how all current and future elements will work. 1 card to activate the top and 3 cards to activate the bottom. There will be 3 copies of each element as well. So now let's talk about each Triad card. First up flowing into frame now is the Water Triad cards. When you activate the first ability Trickle, it will allow you to shuffle the grave and pick up the top 2 cards. Once you get 3 matching elements, you can activate the bottom ability, Stream. This makes you shuffle the grave and pick up the top 4 cards. This is a really good way to try to find some cards that you previously discarded, and to fill your hand up if you're running a little low.
Spot on. Now on to something a little more warming. The Fire element. With the first ability Flare, it makes you discard 1 card from your hand and draws a new card. But the bottom ability is a great card for going on the offensive. Scorch. Forces any opponent you choose to discard the 2 leftmost cards from their hand.
That's great for melting cards out of your or an opponent's hand, but I like to freeze the opponents in their tracks. That's where the Ice element comes in with its top ability, Chill. You get to prevent any opponent from playing cards down on their next turn. It still allows them to draw, discard, and trade a card. Then there is the enhanced ability Freeze. This stops any opponent from participating in the next Triad phase. With this ability being so strong, the same person can't be targeted twice in a row, so you might want to look into playing some action cards to help stop the winning player.
Ooh, I love some action cards. But first, let's review the Triad cards. Remember, Triad cards are any number cards, and they will have 2 abilities, a top ability and a bottom ability. To activate the top abilities, you must play that card down face up in the play area. To activate the enhanced bottom abilities, you must match and play down 3 of the same elements, not numbers, meaning that you don't have to match numbers, but you can. Unfortunately, it won't activate some special secret ability. Now, Griff, take it away with the action cards.
Sure thing, Ember. Action cards, unlike Triad and Gamebreaker cards, can't be swapped out for different cards, meaning that these will always stay the same in every game.
These cards are activated the same way as everything else, by placing them face up in the play area.
Let's start with the first card, Block. This card lets you prevent an opponent from drawing any cards from their next turn. This applies to any card that says Draw. Steal, swap, exchange do not get affected by this card. A player is still able to discard, trade, or play a card. Now let's cover the next card called Discard. This card lets you pick a random card from an opponent's hand to make them discard it.
This does not mean you get to look at the card before you pick it. If you want to look at another player's hand, check out the next card called Peek. This action card allows you to look at another player's hand for 3 seconds. Once you see the cards, keep track of the order of the cards in their hand, because you might be able to steal that card later using the next card on our list.
You're talking about the steal cards, aren't you? This card lets you steal a card from your opponent and add it to your hand. Or if you don't have that card, you could always hope for the best and use the card called Swap.
Yeah, this card lets you choose any opponent to swap out 2 cards. This could potentially give you the card you was wanting, while simultaneously giving someone some junk they can't use. And if all else fails, you can play down the card. Draw 3. This card lets you draw 3 new cards from the deck.
Just remember, you can only have 7 cards in your hand at a time. So don't use this card when you have 6 in your hand. If you do, that Draw 3 will turn to a Draw 2.
Ha ha ha, that's pretty funny, Griff. So here's a recap from the action cards. They can't be swapped out at all, and they are played by placing them face up. Oh, and by the way, there are 2 copies of each card in this game.
Having 2 copies of those cards allows for more chances to mess with my opponents.
Yeah, sure. You say that like you don't constantly target me when there is 4 other players.
No, I say that like I constantly target the winning player. A simple solution to that is just be bad at the game and I'll stop targeting you.
As if that could ever happen. You would need to activate some crazy game-shifting cards to make me lose.
Well, guess what we're talking about next?
Oh no.
Gamebreaker Cards. Oh yeah, baby. These cards completely disrupt the flow of the game and can turn the tide in one turn.
Yeah, but these cards can be swapped out for other Gamebreaker cards when future ones are released. There is a couple cards that are Gamebreaker cards, but they can't be swapped out. They are called the wild cards.
Yeah, these cards are great in a pinch when you don't have any matching cards to play down on the Triad phase. These act as any number, not elements, meaning they can't help you win a tiebreaker unless it's super sudden death.
All right, let's talk about the first Gamebreaker card, Double Turn. This card allows you to take a second turn immediately after your first one. This is how it works. You do your first turn as normal. Draw, play, discard, or trade, and then you immediately play down Double Turn, then you get to go again. Pair this one with the next Gamebreaker to get a card you want.
Oh, you must be talking about the card called Deck Peek. This card allows you to take the top 5 cards of the deck and rearrange them in any order. This can help you know exactly what cards everyone gets. If you don't get the card you want because someone gets that card first, you can use the card called Hand Swap.
Play this card to swap your entire hand with another player's hand. So, if you only have a couple cards in your hand, and someone else has a full hand, use this card on them to throw them off of their plans.
Or you could always use the card called Steal 2. This lets you take 2 random cards of your choice into your hand.
Yeah, these are great and all, but let's show them some of the ones that can shift the whole game in 1 second. Like the card called Left.
Yeah, that makes everyone shift their Triad card collection to the person to the left. Then you have the card called Right. This makes everyone shift the Triad card collection to the person to the right.
Yeah, these cards completely change how your collection is going. And remember, the cards called Left and Right only affect your collection, not the ones in your hand.
If you're winning, you can keep one of these cards in your hand, so if someone uses Left on you, you can use Right to shift it back.
Then we have good old Switch-a-roo. This card allows you to swap your Triad cards with another player. This is useful for when you're losing and someone is in the lead.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to use this right before the next Triad phase to really throw them off their game plan.
Speaking of the Triad phase, what happens if you haven't gotten a matching Triad card for a while? You use...
Triad Swap! Oh,
God.
my bad. Was that the card you was going to talk about?
Yes, Griff. We have rehearsed this 4 times now. Get it together, man.
Okay. Go talk about the Triad Swap.
As long as you won't take my lines again. Jesus. Okay, so where were we? The Triad Swap card. This allows you to exchange your Triad cards for cards in your hand. This means you can swap a card out, 1 for 1.
Let me give everyone an example.
Okay, sure. Take it away.
Thanks. Let's say you are going for a matching set of 3 4s and you already have 2 collected. But you happen to have 3 matching sets of 3s and a Triad Swap card in your hand. What you would do is play down the Triad Swap card. Then you would pick up both of your 4s and put them back in your hand. Last, you would place down only 2 3s because you only had 2 4s collected. Then on your next Triad phase, you could lay down your final 3 and win the game.
I definitely try to play this card right before the Triad phase happens, so that there is only a small chance of you losing that last 3 in your hand.
That's definitely a pro tip right there.
Gee, thanks. But now let's keep moving. We only have 2 cards left.
And the best cards were saved for last.
That's right. We're going to talk about the card called Player. This can give you the ability to look through all the previously played cards and pick out the 1 card you need and add it to your hand. You can pick out a number card you needed, an element to get the matching set of 3, an action card, or even another Gamebreaker.
Yeah, anytime this card gets played, it's pretty much all eyes on you being the target now. Finally, we have the card called Gravedigger. This card allows you to dig through the grave of all the previously discarded cards to add to your hand. You do get to look through the cards also. This card becomes stronger as the time goes on, and there's more cards in the grave. Or maybe you got forced to discard a card you needed. Then you could be able to get that card back into your hand and hopefully in your Triad collection.
And that sums it all up about how every card works in the game.
Hopefully, this helps you out with understanding how the cards work. Remember, all cards have to be placed face up in the play area for it to activate.
So thanks for watching, and remember to follow us on Instagram at 3's Not a Crowd Game for more updates about future elements, game breakers, and game modes.